It's absurd that not only is Red versus Blue still a thing, and yes, we're still making it, but there's so many people making it.
Back in season 10 when I started, there was about 10 of us in the animation department, kind of just off in the corner at 636. So everyone was kind of doing a lot of stuff, and now our animation department has grown to, it's constantly growing, but I think it's between 80 and 100 people.
Before I worked here, I worked mostly alone. I would write and then direct and then edit and then do the visual effects and then, do the compositing and the animation on top of that. And for the first few weeks of production, it kind of felt like I was learning how to walk for the first time, but very quickly, partially because people here are so awesome, it kind of developed a creative shorthand and was able to really work really well with the teams. And now I don't want to go back to ever doing things on my own because this is way better and easier and awesomer.
Joe and I met in Austin. He'd been doing a bunch of videos around town. He cast Bernie in a really funny online video he made called Kittywood Studios. And then we hired him later to write and direct a short. And then even later after that, wanted him to come and get involved with season 14 of Red vs. Blue, which was an anthology season. We knew that Joe was a fan of Red vs. Blue and thought he would have a lot to offer. And we didn't know what he was gonna do that was gonna be, crazy and interesting, but we knew he would do something that was completely different than everybody else.
I started making videos and putting them on the internet before YouTube even existed. Made a bunch of web series for something called Channel 102 a bunch of years ago. And then I started posting videos on YouTube in 2009, 2010, and started kind of working around and with Rooster Teeth a little bit more. Me and Rooster Teeth kind of just kept orbiting each other a little bit. And then finally, they asked me to do a Mega Bloks episode of Red vs. Blue, which I did and loved, and wanted to continue working on it. And they were like, okay.
Working with Joe's a lot of fun. He really brings an interesting twist to the show, but still, it feels like he's taken the show back to kind of the first few seasons.
They brought me on in October and were like, okay, now just write season 15. And I had a lot of meetings with Miles, one a day for 2 weeks, just writing all of the different organizations and characters that are still alive and where they all left off, basically what is out there in the universe in terms of this sandbox to play with for season 15. And I thought about this quote from Raiders of the Lost Ark when Belloc says to Indiana Jones, "I am but a shadowy version of you. It would take a nudge to make you like me, to push you from the light." I started thinking about, well, what are the shadowy versions of the Reds and Blues? And as soon as I had that seed, the whole season came together in an afternoon. It was just sort of I knew answers to almost everything so soon.
Joe first came to me with his pitch for the season, the kind of skeletal structure of the story and the high points and low points, overall themes, and we workshopped it a bit and then got it to a point that sounded great. And it was really fun getting to work with Joe because he was just very easy to work with, collaborative, and most importantly, just fun.
We had a lot of talks about the structure of the season because it is really very different than any other season we've ever done. It seemed like Joe really wanted to make a mark, which I think was a great thing to do because after so many seasons, it's good to have a refresher and provide the audience a place where they can pick up and not have to have any of the baggage of the older seasons, just come in fresh with new characters who I think kind of add to the ensemble and add to some of the drama and the intrigue of the season without taking away from any of the humor of our, beloved Blood Gulch morons.
Every iteration of the Halo game has a huge impact on Red vs. Blue. And the machinima aspects have kept it grounded in its roots. Halo 2, Halo 3, now we have Halo 5, which is really, I think, about the 8th or 9th Halo game. Every time there's been little nuances in every version of the game that affect the way we do production. I think by far the one that was the biggest learning curve for us was probably Halo 2, because we had never had to make those on-the-fly adjustments before. And ever since then, I think we've had a better approach for how we look at a new Halo game, how we incorporate it into the show, and I think it's really shown in Season 15 with Halo 5.
Joe's directing style is influenced by a lot more classic movies than Miles was. So I would say there are a lot of homages to Westerns and a lot of callbacks, throwbacks to different genres. I think there's one shot where it's a callback to Evil Dead, where it's just it's Jax running through the map, but it's supposed to look like a shot from Evil Dead.
As far as the season goes, it's definitely a learning experience, especially with learning with a new director. I think we had sort of like a trial run for season 14 because it was an anthology season. You know, we had many different directors and writers. But now that we have Joe in office, we had to learn how he wanted certain things. And I think we've slowly started to like understand like what he's aiming for. And I think we've come to like a good consensus of like, this is the RVB that we want going forward.
I've never done any directing of 3D animation before, and I really leaned on Paco and Dustin's team for a lot of guidance in terms of like, you know, the pipeline, the actual workflow of animated shots, and then how to direct animation like that. And those guys have been super, super nice, super, super sweet. You know, they walk me through everything, they never get frustrated. I mean, they've just been like the nicest guys in the world. I have a really fun time working with the comp department. Comp is like visual effects and additional animation on top of things. Comp is a lot of my background, and I really love working with all those team members because I feel like that is a language that I can speak really well. Zane and Alex and Rick and Brett and Alan and Brian. It's almost like the department I feel the closest with because After Effects is my second language. Sometimes I feel like maybe I get a little too specific with which plugins they have to use and how they write their After Effects expressions. But, you know, for the most part, I'm sure they love working with me as much as I love working with them.
It is crazy seeing how many animators are on the floor working hard and everybody contributing their own unique talents to something that, you know, used to just be a couple of us struggling, finding our way, making bad Photoshops to get through an episode. It's just fun to see that we've been able to kind of blend the old and the new in so many ways. Like at its essence, like I think there's still so much fun and life and enjoyment derived out of Red versus Blue, of like the old school machinima process that, you know, Kyle and Josh and Joe are using to tell the bulk of the story, but then, you know, we're able to enhance it so much with everything that the 3D animators do and with the comps that are now kind of more polished and looks like everything's really kind of in the world.
I hope that fans watch season 15 and feel what I feel, which is just love for these characters and appreciation for the journey they've been on for all these years. I think there is something really special about the Reds and Blues and the Freelancers. I think there's something really awesome about these characters. And I wanted this season to really be like a celebration of them. I wanted them all to not only go out in search of something that they really, really want, but find something that helps complete them as people. My design for the character arcs of the season was, you know, I wanted a very red and blue focused season where I treat every single one of the characters as a main character and as someone who has a journey. And I hope that people have enjoyed that journey as much as I've enjoyed telling that story.
The animation department at Rooster Teeth is almost like its own company at this point. It's got about as many employees as the rest of the company combined. You know, it has its own management staff, has its own production pipeline, and it works. You can draw back all the major departments at Rooster Teeth to an individual show. And the one that started it all, Red versus Blue, really established Rooster Teeth as a powerhouse in the world of animation. And now that show has grown to spawn this huge department, the RT animation department, with about 100 different people that work there, and they're producing an incredible amount of just top tier content every single day of the year. It's really cool to see it.